Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so I got recommended to read Superman Kryptonite by one of my subscribers. Shout out to Murd913K, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This was an incredible read and I really appreciate all of the recommendations you gave me. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So just when I think Superman couldn't be more grounded, I read Superman Kryptonite, and I loved everything about this comic for the most part. There is something I do have a little critique about that I will get to, but for the most part, this was a fantastic comic and a just fantastic read all around. Tim Sale's artwork, just when you think it couldn't get any better. I mean, it's so vibrant. I mean, I love Superman for All Seasons, but like this comic just improves it like tenfold. Incredible stuff. Honestly, man, I really love the whole little universe they got going here with Superman for All Seasons. And Superman for All Seasons is my favorite Superman comic. I've come to terms with that. I loved the others I read before, All-Star Superman and Birthright, but Superman for All Seasons really does just have this very unique charm to it. You know, where you're not always seeing Superman in action. And I think that's really a plus when it comes to the character of Superman, because when Superman comes out, it's treated as literally like a treat, you know, like you don't see him a lot, but when he comes out, you're like, yes, Superman's here, you know, just like the crowds in the comics, you know, that's kind of how I view it, at least. It's just, I love it. You see a lot of Clark Kent, and it's a very humanizing version of Superman, and that's my favorite thing about it. And this comic just oozes with humanizing elements, and I love it. So the whole story is about Superman coming into contact with Kryptonite for the very first time and learning that he is vulnerable and he isn't just a invulnerable god. And he's coming to terms with that and learning how to, you know, come to terms with that and balancing a relationship with Lois Lane. And it's things like that that really make you connect with Superman. And it's made me realize that pop culture really has this skewed idea of what Superman is. Really, like, this comic is proof of that. My favorite thing about this comic is how Superman deals with the idea of being able to die. Because you see him try to stop this volcano in the comic, and he's sitting there, you know, flying through all the molten lava and everything. And as this is going on, it's cutting back and forth between him and Lois, because he's supposed to be going on a date with Lois, and she's standing on this balcony singing this little tune waiting for him. It's adorable, you know. And then it cuts back to Superman, and he's in the middle of this volcano, lava splashing everywhere, getting in his lungs, and you see Superman's thoughts through all this, and he's sitting there contemplating whether or not this is going to be the moment that he dies. This is what's going to kill him. He doesn't know if the lava going into his mouth is going to be, you know, going to kill him. And so what ends up happening is he ends up erupting out of this volcano in a beautiful panel, and he ends up looking like a demonic being. And actually it says that people around the volcano that were running actually saw him with fear for the very first time, because they thought he was a demonic figure coming out of the volcano, and that scared the crap out of him, and he didn't like that. And he gets on the ground, he's spitting lava out, and there's this dog behind him that's on fire. It's just like, honestly, like a little disturbing, but like a very realistic take on Superman. And so after this happens, he goes to Ma and Pa Kent, and he's, you know, all banged up and beat up and everything, and he's kind of just venting to them about, you know, he really started to realize in that moment that I could die, and it's the first time he's ever really had that thought before. And that's just so cool. What a unique idea with Superman. And again, it just proves that so much pop culture nowadays has Superman wrong. He's not an invulnerable god. He can die, and that's what makes Superman relatable. We can't relate to a god, we relate to the human side of Superman. And so what's best about it, though, is the way he deals with it, though, because he processes it at first like a little scared, but then he learns to embrace it. There's a moment in the comic when he's flying over Metropolis and he sees the people after he's kind of come to terms with it, and he's looking down on them and he's saying, I just want to go tell them that I'm just like them and I'm not a god. And he's learning to embrace it and actually is a little happy about it. And I love that. Like, it talks about at the end of the comic how he really views the idea of being vulnerable as a good thing, because it strengthens his relationships with the other people around him that he loves. He knows he has limited time on this earth, and so he wants to make the best of it. And that is just so relatable. And that is what this comic gets best. Alright, so let's talk about the one thing I do kind of have a little bit of an issue with, and that is the idea of a sentient Kryptonite. Now, I didn't see this coming. When I first started reading the comic and they showed the narration panels lit up green and everything like that, like, I was like, wait a minute, is this the Kryptonite narrating the story for me right now? And I don't know if I really like the idea of that, a Kryptonite taking over Tony Gallo and everything. It was just a little too much for me. I get what they were going for, and I don't know, you guys let me know what you thought of that in the comments below. I never even knew that this was a concept, and maybe that's why. Maybe this was a one and done thing because people didn't like it, but yeah, I don't know. It wasn't necessarily my cup of tea. It didn't ruin the comic for me or anything like that. It just definitely kind of came out of left field. You know, it was just a little odd, but I get what it was doing. It was, you know, it was trying to show that Superman is from Krypton. It explains his origins and stuff like that. Now, what I will say is at the end of the comic, when it all kind of comes to fruition and they all kind of come together, Lex Luthor, Tony Gallo, and Superman, you know, they're all in Tony Gallo's office and everything after he is explaining the origins of Superman and kind of exposing him to the Kryptonite for the first time. There is a moment where Tony Gallo just freaks out and puts 2 guns to his head and does the deed that is not to be discussed on YouTube. That was insane. And holy crap, was that like a reality check. I'm like, okay, this comic's real. We're going that far with it, and honestly, I appreciate it. It was messed up, but holy crap. I mean, and they show Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor's just like, yeah, whatever, dude. I mean, it really does, like, speak, like, so many things about Lex Luthor. I mean, he didn't even faze him. Everybody else is like, holy crap, but Lex Luthor's like, yeah, whatever, moving on. It was, honestly, that was insane, but yeah, I just wasn't too big on the idea of a sentient Kryptonite. You guys let me know in the comments below how you felt about that, but let me know below where to go from here. If there's any more in this universe, let me know, or just let me know what else to read. If you want me to read another Superman comic, another hero, let me know below. I'd love to read it and review it. That's going to do it for my review today, guys. Please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button along with the notification bell to stay updated on when new content like this drops. Thanks for watching. God bless, and I will see you in the next video. See ya.